This may have go this goes against all the advice that we hear on the internet. You don't need to earn more money to feel more financially secure. I want to say it again because I know it goes against everything we've taught, everything that we're reading in books and seeing, especially in a capitalistic society. But you don't need to earn more money to feel financially secure. Now, do you have the capacity to earn more? Of course. You may want to earn more. But notice I said the word need. What you need to do instead is to stop skipping these four money moves that will make the money that you already have work even harder for you. Now, here's the thing. I want to give the disclaimer right up top. I'm not a certified financial planner. I'm not a money coach. I'm none of those things. I am a woman over 40 that's made money mistakes, that's made powerful money moves, and have all of the things in between. So this video today is not about budgeting. It's not about doing something that's going to feel more like punishment to your life. It's not about cutting your lattes, even though I've never drank coffee before, but that seems to be the prevalent advice from a lot of old school traditional money mavens, if you will, which is to cut your lattes. It's not even about hustle harder, which I've spent a lot of years doing that. But I don't know about you, but now as someone who is in my 40s, I am not interested in a smaller life. I do not want to feel constricted. I want my life to feel expansive. In my 20s and 30s, I spent so much time traveling and seeing different parts of the world. And then I hit 40, and I don't know if it was the pandemic, but all of a sudden my world felt a lot smaller. And what happened is I started to think that everything was tight around me. My environment felt tight around me. My career felt tight around me. My relationships felt tight around me. And therefore, my money also felt tight around me. So I'm not interested in having this smaller life. And I don't want that small life for you either. But what I am interested in these quiet, unglamorous moves that women over 40 tend to skip. These are the ones that compound in your favor when you're busy doing everything else, because I'm always busy doing something else. So today we're going to keep it simple. It's going to be 4 moves. Each move takes less than 30 minutes to do. But even if you just did one of the 4 moves, you are already going to start to see progress and that compounding growth. But when you put all 4 of those moves together, honey, that is when you're going to start to see some big efforts and big strides take effect in your financial life. Each one of these moves is about optimizing what you already have, not about doing more. But doesn't that sound nice? The opportunity to do less and to actually have more. So let us get into it. So grab your favorite beverage, grab a notebook, an iPad, whatever you're going to use to write, because I want you to take these 4 money moves down and I want you to start applying them to your own life. So move number 1 is to schedule a monthly money date with yourself. I'm someone who, when I wake up, I tend to check my bank account balances every single day. But this money date is completely different than just simply looking at your balances and making sure there's no fraudulent charges or incremental charges and subscriptions that you didn't know about. This money date with myself, which I have at the end of every month, is about planning for the upcoming month and also looking at the month that just went by. What I start with first is planning for move 1. Schedule a monthly money date with yourself. Put a recurring date on your calendar. I'm serious. Open your calendar right now, on your phone, wherever it is, and I want you to put a money date. I put mine at the end of the month. That is the one that works best for me because I want to be able to plan what's going to happen in the next month. And this is 30 minutes. It's the same time for me every single month. Have it at the end of the month from 5 to 6 p.m. And this is the time that I schedule with myself. It usually takes about 30 minutes, but I like to schedule an hour just in case anything else comes up. And here's what you're going to do on that date. I want you to just think about the time that you're spending with yourself, and this is quality time. The same way, especially over 40, we're not trying to spend time doing things that we don't enjoy, that don't bring us value. So I want this money date to feel like a cozy time with yourself. You're not going to overhaul anything. That's not what it's about. I just want you to look. You're going to open up your account. You're going to look at the money that you had come in for the month. You're also going to look at the money that went out for the month. And you just notice. You're not judging yourself. You're not self-flagellating yourself. You're simply noticing the numbers that came in, the numbers went out. Are they what you expected? Did anything surprise you in these numbers? Do you have excess money and discretionary income that you hadn't realized? You just want to be able to notice these things. Most of us do not avoid money because we're bad at it. We don't avoid money because we don't understand money coming in and coming out and how to pay our bills. Most times when people avoid looking at their money and specifically looking at their numbers, it's because we're trying to bypass a feeling that we just don't want to have. And that feeling could be guilt. It could feel confusion, that little pang that comes with, oh, I should be further along right now. That voice never has our best interest in mind. What are you making that mean? What are you making those numbers that you see looking back on you on the screen? What are you making them mean? What does avoidance look like for you? Do you think avoidance equals safety? If I cover my eyes and don't look at the numbers, then somehow I feel safe. The truth is, avoidance is the most expensive habit that a woman over 40 can have. So instead of doing that, I want you to have that one date a month, 30 minutes to an hour, depending on where you are on your journey. And I want you to just look at the money that's come in, the money that's gone out, and then also here's where we have an opportunity to plan for the next month. So for example, I am recording this right now in middle of August 2026. At the end of August, I'm going to sit down and have a money date with myself. And I'm going to look at September. What are the things coming up? Do I have any birthdays, any celebrations, any trips planned? Are there back to school items I'm going to purchase for my niece? What are any registrations that might be coming up for school activities? I'm going to take a look at what's happening in September and see with the money that I have coming in, how can I now make certain allotments for myself based off of September? So these things aren't surprises. These are things that we're planning for. The thing that strikes me all the time is when the holidays come and people all of a sudden are in a panic as if the holidays don't fall at the same time every single year. But yet we seem surprised by this and mostly unprepared. But with these money dates, it allows us the opportunity to be able to plan for that month so that we're allocating the money that's coming in a way that's effective. It is giving our money a job as opposed to saying, when this bill comes, I'll pay this. When this happens, I'll go here. This is how we go to Target and we end up spending $200 instead of $50. It's because we're not intentional with that. And the money date is going to allow you to do that. Mine is 5 to 6 p.m. It's one of the best hours that I spend with myself the entire month. I make it cozy and comfortable and put on something nice. I light my candle, I put on some music, and then I sit down and I plan this money date. Put it in your calendar right now. Schedule that money date with yourself. It is going to be a game changer for you. Move number 2, and these are for all my corporate ladies. I want you to max out your 401k and your IRA. This is going to feel like a tremendous ask if you are not already doing this. This is the move that you have heard 1,000 times and maybe you have ignored it. Max out my 401k, max out my IRA, and I already know what you're thinking. That's impossible. I can't afford it. Where would that money even come from? And I want to take a lot of pressure off of you for this because I ask myself the same question. Not only that, but I rebuked that advice for so many months, thinking it's impossible for me to do this. And the fact that someone even suggested it felt offensive to me. It felt like they don't know my situation. How could they possibly suggest something that is so absurd, so wildly crazy that they don't even know? They're speaking from a place of privilege because they don't know my life. They don't know what's happening with me. And so for them to suggest something like that means that they are completely out of touch with where I am and what my financial situation is. I want to take that pressure off of you. And I also want you to know that I have been in that same place. The best advice that I've received is I don't want you to commit to forever. I don't want you to commit to this idea of maxing out your 401k or your IRA forever. I'm asking for 1 month. And the great thing specifically about a 401k is you can make the adjustment for a month at a time. So typically you'll change the adjustment amount. So whatever you're contributing right now, maybe it's 3%, 5%, 10%. But when you maximize that adjustment, it'll kick in for that next pay period. And then you'll be able to see, am I able to live without that money? How much of a ding or a hurt, or maybe none at all, did it actually feel to turn up the volume on my 401k and be able to max it out? By taking this tiny experiment for myself, it was an absolute game changer because I knew that if in that one pay period that I was not able to sustain it or that I was shocked by the amount of deduction that had come out of my check, I could simply switch that contribution back to the number that I had before and I would be okay. This is why it takes 1 month. It's that one pay period where you're going to see the change hit, and then you need that next pay period for the change to take effect to go back if you want to reduce that contribution again. Now, maybe you still feel like there's no way I can stomach the full contribution. That's okay. It could be the full max. Maybe it's a few extra percent, but just simply giving yourself the test of what you're able to sustain could be a completely different way of looking at your money. Because if you watch what actually happens when you're able to increase that contribution, one, you are now truly paying yourself first. That is the ultimate way of paying yourself first. After you get your paycheck every month, I want you to know the first person that got paid was the government. They took those taxes out. But when you contribute to your 401k, that is pre-tax money. Therefore, you are getting paid first. And how nice does that feel? That the fruits of your labor, the hard work that you've put in for that particular month, for those years that you've been, you are the one that's actually getting paid first. So that's all I want you to do. I want you to try it for 1 month. Because here's what I've seen over and over, not just in myself, but also in the group programs that I'm a part of, the other people and friends that I have where we talk openly about money, is our brains want to automatically assume that we can afford it. We feel the burn in our imagination and in our brains more than we ever feel it in our bank account. And then what happens is for a lot of women, they try it for a month and they realize that something is surprising them. It was uncomfortable, sure, to see the change in salary, to make that adjustment and click submit on the form. But then we also learned it wasn't impossible. The money just adjusted and you just adjusted. Maybe it was one, and maybe it was one last takeout meal. But your life quietly started to reorganize around this new priority. And if it does feel like a real burn for you, that might be the case, then fine. Now you know because you have data and you have data, and data is more helpful than that feeling. It's more helpful than our monkey brains telling us you automatically cannot do this, that we can't sustain this, that this is impossible for us. Now you have data to say, well, maybe the max was too much. Well, what if I bring it down to this point, which might be more than the original dollar amount, less than the max, but now you're contributing more to yourself and to your retirement. You can always dial it back. You can try it again in 6 months. And either way, you win because you've stopped guessing. You've stopped saying that this is impossible for you. And now you have real data to decide, is this something that you can do? Does it have viability over the long term? What is possible for you? Move number 3, figure out what your money is for. Oh my gosh, I could spend so much time talking about move 3 because people talk about this, but they never talked about it in a way that I understood. I would listen to people say, what do you want to use your money for? Particularly if you go into a bank and you're there for a while, someone might come up to you and say, hey, I'd love to talk to you about your account. They say, well, what's this money for? And I'd look at them as if they were crazy. What is this money for? This money is for life, bro. I don't know what you want me to tell you, but this money is just to have, to keep me safe. And that's what I realized. I was sort of cosplaying a Scrooge McDuck. And I'm not exaggerating. In my head, the goal was just more. Stockpile it. Watch the numbers go up. I thought that was the entire point of having money. Just watch it go up, watch it accumulate, because accumulation and seeing that money sitting there in a savings account will make me feel safe. It will make me feel that I'm okay, that I can sustain whatever may happen. And in some ways, it was true. The money was there and I had money in my savings account. But here's the other thing that also was true that I didn't really take into account. That money with no purpose, it just tends to sit there. And that number still never feels like enough because it's some arbitrary thing. I just want to stockpile. I just want to have more just in case. But I don't know what the number is. So then I'm constantly operating in a deficit. It's always a deficit if I feel like it's never enough. There's never enough money to be there. So no number ever feels like enough if I don't know what it's for. And what changed for me was this. I started to split my money into different buckets. There was a dream bucket and a reality bucket. The reality bucket is all the unsexy stuff. It's the bills, the emergency fund, the retirement account, the I could walk away from a really bad job tomorrow if I had to money. That's the security. That's the foundation. But then I also have this dream bucket, and it's the part of me that makes my heart come back online. It's the money that's allowed to be fun, the money that I have to play for the trip that I want to take, for the course that I want to invest in, for the experiences I want to have with my family and with my loved ones. It's the thing that I've always wanted, but I told myself it was irresponsible. But all that was happening is that all that money was just going into the same bucket. But when I can now see my money into these two separate buckets, one that was keeping me safe and one that was giving me something to look forward to, the anxiety started to quiet down. I grew up in an environment where scarcity was the name of the day. And when you live like that with this constant feeling of not having enough, then it's hard if you don't break that pattern yourself to not grow up and become the adult that also feels like the money is never enough. So when that so when that anxiety started to quiet down, I stopped hoarding and I started using my money on purpose. I had more direction and more clarity for where I wanted it to go. And I can make a whole other video of how keeping your money in a savings account versus making some other moves also cost me. But again, I'm not a financial coach. I'm not a certified financial planner. I'm just a woman that has made some mistakes and some good moves along the way. And I want to be able to share that with you. So this is your move for this week. I want you to sit down and write what your money is for. Not how much you want, but what it's for. Two buckets, reality and dreams. That's it. So we have arrived at money move number 4. We've gone through the first 3. Money move number 4 is this: work with someone. Move 4 is the one that most high achievers resist the most. So I want to say it as directly, but also as gently as possible. If you don't understand the terms, beloved, if you don't know what moves to do next, and if your situation is unique and you don't feel like there's a certain rule that actually fits and applies to your situation, stop trying to figure it out alone. It will cost you more money than you can ever imagine because indecision does have a cost attached to it. DIYing can also have a cost attached to it. So if you find yourself in any of these places, I want you to think about working with someone. Now, I'm not talking about handing over control. I'm talking about getting a guide, a financial advisor, a fee-only planner, a CPA, a trusted financial coach, someone whose entire job is going to be translating this stuff so that you can make decisions on your own. But one thing I will say, there was a point a few years ago where I sat in front of a CFP, certified financial planner, and I was talking to her and she was asking all the right questions about, what did I have this? Or how much money did I make? Did I have any money in my retirement accounts? How much? All of those very technical questions. But she never spent time asking me about my goals. She also didn't spend any time showing me possibilities other than what it would look like to retire at a certain age. And I wanted to work with someone who had an entire landscape or smorgasbord of possibilities that were available to me. What would it look like if my business did X? Was work optionality a possibility for me? When I hear things about the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, is that something that could be available to me? But it felt as if she was already charting the course of you're going to retire at 65 and this is what it's going to look like. And I'm going to plug and play these numbers into a machine and that's going to be that. And that's okay. That could be your reality. But for me, I wanted to know all of the options that were available for me based off of what I want for my life. As I mentioned, I'm looking for expansion. I'm not just looking for a paint by numbers type of outlook. So instead, I started to work with someone who I trust, someone who became work optional at 39, Someone whose husband also became work optional before he was 40, because that is the goal that I have for myself. I was looking towards those things, and I wanted to work with someone who was going to be able to see my dream and professionally tell me, is there a way for me to get there? What would it look like? What levers would I have to pull? What habits would I maybe need to change if I wanted to achieve these bigger dreams for myself? It is hard for us to admit that feeling confused about money isn't a character flaw, because it can feel like it is, especially when so much we read and so much conversation is about money. And there are these terms that are thrown around. And if we're not well versed in that, sometimes it can feel difficult to even know what type of question to ask that pertains to your situation. It's just a knowledge gap. And as my financial coach told me, it's a math problem. When she broke it down to things being a math problem, it diffused the situation. It no longer felt as personal to me. It didn't have the same emotional charge to me. Now, don't get me wrong, emotions did come up during our sessions that we had together. But when I started to think, how can I solve this math problem? It did a lot for my nervous system. I felt a lot more relaxed. I felt more steady, and things felt logical and less emotional. So any of these knowledge gaps that you may have, there's going to start to close a lot faster when you stop treating Google and anxiety as your financial team. And that includes all of the chat GPTs and Claudes and everything else. If your situation is straightforward, maybe a one-time session is all you're going to need. You'll be able to bring this information with you, and in one powerful session, you'll be able to get where you want to go. If it's more complicated, or if there's more emotion involved, if for me, this feeling of safety kept popping up, I needed more than one session, because at this point, yes, it was a math problem, but in order to execute some of those moves, for example, maxing out the 401k, that was a mindset problem. I needed to spend time with someone who could help me and hold space for me so that I could start to work out some of those mindset things that came. Those safety ideas that felt very real to me, very charged of, am I going to be able to do this? I needed to work through that before I was able to just make those adjustments. So working with a professional to me didn't feel like an expense. It felt like the move that helped all the other moves come into play. And it created a comfort and a safety for me that was required for me to make these financial moves in my own life. So here we are. We have talked about our 4 monthly money moves. The first one is the monthly money date. I want you to make this day feel so special. This 30 minutes, an hour, I want you to look forward to it. Get yourself, like, romanticize the idea of this money date with yourself. 1 month max test. So here we are. We have the 4 money moves. The first one is the monthly money date. I want you to romanticize this 30 minutes, an hour with yourself. I want you to figure out, how can I look forward to it every single month? What will you wear? Where's the location going to be? How are you going to make this time with yourself feel so special, so valuable, so precious that you want to protect it and look forward to it every single month? The second is, you're going to try the 1 month max out of your 401k, your IRA. You're going to see how that feels to adjust those numbers, and then take a look at the data. But the data run the show, not the emotion. Harder to do, but I promise that you can do it. The third is to know what your money is for. When you have a clear direction of what your money is for, when you take off this Scrooge McDuck costume like I did, it starts to feel more exciting to think about your money, more purposeful. And again, I'm all about trying to get my nervous system as relaxed as possible, and this helps me do it. And then the last move is to get a guide. There's no shame in getting a guide, and actually, it can be really one of the best things that you can do for yourself, because there may be options available to you you had never thought of, that you had never heard of, you didn't know what meant, and it can be a complete shift as to how your money moves from here on out. I want you to notice all of the things that I didn't say. I didn't say earn more. I didn't say grind. I didn't say work yourself to the quick. I said look, test, define, and then ask for help. That is optimization. That is what doing less but feeling better looks like. That is what doing less and feeling better looks like. If you're a woman over 40 who's tired of feeling like you should be further along, I want you to start with one move. Put that money date on your calendar right now. Pause this video, put that money date on your calendar right now at the end of the month. I will wait for you to do it. And then I want you to go into the comments and tell me, which of these 4 moves have you been skipping? And if you do any of these 4 moves, which of the ones have felt the most powerful for you? I want you to be honest. I read every one, probably because I don't have many comments on my videos, but either way, I want to stay connected. And this piece has been such an important part of me establishing and building this expansive life that I talk about. Being able to sit with my money and view these numbers as data and take the emotion out of them. I'm Monica, and I make videos for women over 40 who want to be seen, heard, and recognized for the brilliance that you already bring in your career and in your money. So if this video helped, subscribe so that you and I can keep doing this together. I'll see you next time.